So, let's see. I've got two primary Delphi or Delphi HDF 296 filters. They are apparently they are, as they are with most things, aftermarket units. These are supposed to be good ones. What exactly that means, a good diesel filter versus not, I don't know. Then I've got two secondary fuel filters there, and yes, and the air intake filters, one and two of those. So that's it. That's all I'm going to be putting in for now. I've got a whole bunch of other stuff, but I'll leave that for another video. I did also, for what it's worth, I bought this PVC bag for the generator to go in, so I'm actually quite excited for that, because the generator is a bit of an eyesore when it's not kind of packed away. This is what I'm talking about. Look at that. Oh, beaut! And it's a big piece of kit, but still, how great. One other cool piece of kit that was recommended are these hose clamps, which are going to be useful for shutting off the fuel supply while I'm changing fuel filters. Nice. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to clamp off that fuel supply there to the primary filter with one of the new clamps that I bought. Let's see if they are able to clamp that hose. It felt like it was quite stiff. So that's these guys here. I'm gonna try the biggest one first. Oh yeah, I've got the feeling that that's not really clamping that hose very well. I might try this medium-sized one instead. Yeah, that feels better. That feels much better. Cool. I'm satisfied that that's now got the fuel clamped off. So now what I need to do is I need to drain the fuel out of this filter before I whip it off. And what I really want to do is put a whole lot of rags and stuff down here to catch any fuel that drips out, because almost certainly there will be fuel dripping out there. And then I'm going to need to have a container to trap some of the fuel in, which I'm going to use this plastic one for. And then I want a bottle with a funnel to store any fuel that I capture as well, so I better go and grab those things. Okay, so I have replaced this primary fuel filter over here. I had to clamp off the hose just there on the intake, and then I clamped it here on the output of that filter as well, just while I was doing work on that filter. Probably didn't need to do that. And then I have changed the secondary filter in here. I had a look at that I think it's a copper washer underneath the bleed screw there, and it seemed to be in relatively good nick to me, which is a good thing because I don't have a spare. And then I had to do multiple pumps there on that lift pump to get the to bleed the air out of the system, but that all worked quite nicely. So next thing to do is just to clear out here, lots of air, get an extinguisher ready just in case, and then start the engine up and see how it goes. Oh, not quite. I'm going to change the air filter first. Give the casing of the air intake a clean, and then we'll see how we go. Wow, I'm stoked. I have changed the primary filter, primary fuel filter, secondary fuel filter, air intake filter on the starboard engine, and it's now starting first time, easy as, which is great. Like that's really good. However, when I went to go and start it for the first time, it didn't seem to be getting ignition power. And I went and fiddled around with some of the wiring close to the starter motor. And normally when I turn the key to kind of 1 o'clock on the control panel, I get a buzzer sound. And then I can turn the key to kind of like 2 o'clock to start the engine. And then once the engine's started, you release the key, it jumps back to 1 o'clock and sits there, and the buzzer turns off. But when I turned to 1 o'clock, I didn't get a buzzer at all. And then I went to fiddle with the wiring close to the starter motor, and I was fiddling and touching and just juggling stuff, and then I heard the buzzer up at the control panel. So there must be a bad connection in there somewhere. So I'm going to go and take a little bit of a look around and see what I can find.
Keith, who's coming to visit?
Uncle, Graham and Jenny.
Where are they? Can you spot them? Yay, this is so exciting. This is a boat that's moored at the marina we've been staying at Middle Harbour. The Spitbridge Marina, and oh my gosh, it is absolutely beautiful. Apparently inside they were saying it's like a museum, just the most incredible finishings and fittings. It's called Lollipop, and there off they go. That's a cool track, guys. Okay.
An hour ago we picked up a mooring at Manly Cove, which is 100 meters off the beach maybe, and what's going on here?
Hello.
And this, we were just saying earlier how this has been a week of a bunch of firsts for us, and a bunch of things that we've really been looking forward to, like sailing out in the ocean and being in Sydney Harbour and visiting Clontarf and anchoring off Reef Beach and spending the night at Manly and all of these things, and we just kind of they just kind of keep on happening, all of these awesome things over the last week. So this has been really, really beautiful. We've got the most amazing sort of scene around us here, with quite flat water and boats and a bit of a sunset happening in the back there. There's Heath just over here. It's keen to get in on the action. I wonder if we can see where Reef Beach is. I think it might be, let me see if I can kind of, yeah, there's just over there, there's Reef Beach. It's been a favourite beach of ours for a long time. Really awesome. And if I swivel around to this side, you can see how it sort of becomes Manly Beach just behind us over there. There we go, there's Hugo's, and a bunch of restaurants just down on the waterfront over there, and the Manly Ferry Wharf just behind it. What a beautiful spot. It's a bit rolly here with the ferries coming through, but pretty protected from the light northerly breeze at the moment. Absolutely beautiful. And that sunset, I'll change the focus of the camera and you can get an idea of, get an idea of what the sunset is going to do. It's going to be beautiful. Yeah, awesome. So we've had like a really, really eventful day today. Some parts of it absolutely beautiful. We woke up this morning in Manly Cove and it was so still, and we had quiet morning and delicious coffee, and then left that mooring quite early to go around to Quarantine Beach, which is another one of those things that we've been wanting to do for a while. And moorings were taken, so we put the anchor down and then went over to the beach and went and got coffees and pastries and played and stuff. And then I looked over at the boat and I was like, wow, that's probably looks like it's kind of moved a little bit. And I sort of kept watching and kind of quickened the pace a little bit, and then like saw the boat like very obviously move and just started sprinting across the little beach. And Kath had kind of noticed it as well, and we were both sprinting for the dinghy. Jumped in the dinghy, blasted over to the boat as it was like pretty much kind of on top of another anchored motor launch, and managed to kind of get away with a pretty superficial little rub against the other boat. Luckily the guy on the boat was super understanding, and we managed to reclaim the anchor chain, reclaim the anchor, and then on top of all of that, the starboard engine has been cutting out, and I'd initially thought that it was a fuel supply issue, so I recently changed all the fuel filters on both engines, and I was hoping that that would have fixed that problem, but it hasn't. And it seems like on that engine at lower revs it cuts out in gear and out of gear, and so that was busy happening at the time that we were trying to get away from this boat that we were right on top of and recover the anchor chain. Kath was awesome on the foredeck. We managed to get fenders out quickly. It all kind of went okay, and we managed to then get onto a mooring at Quarantine Beach, and then we went to go and fetch the boys. We went over to the guy whose boat we nudged and had a chat with him, and he was, giving us lots of advice on how to anchor, and he was a super good guy. Gave him a name and telephone number in case he needs to make a claim and do repairs and that kind of stuff, and he was very grateful for that gesture, and he's since sent a text message, and so he seems like a good guy, and he's not particularly phased, which is great, although we'll see. And then we decided to leave that mooring and head over to Clontarf to try and catch the Spit Bridge at 11 a.m. and we were racing there, but we missed it probably by about 5 minutes, so we just picked up another mooring at Clontarf and spent a few hours there. And man, my stress levels and anxiety levels were up through the roof from the whole dragging the anchor thing, and how quickly that all happened, and I suppose how much worse it could have been. And then it came time for us to go and get the 2:30 Spit Bridge opening, but by that time the southerly had started coming through, which was forecast. Started coming through like 20-25 knots. The guys were all on their wings and foils, blasting around windsurfers, and the windsurfers are definitely only out there if the wind is blowing 25. And so that wind was blowing us to the beach, or at least, sorry, not the beach. That wind was blowing us to the bridge. So we got there really quickly. We had a few minutes to spare. We were the only boat that needed to go through the bridge. So the guy opened up and he was kind of ushering us through while the bridge was still opening. So it was all a little bit rushed, and the current was coming towards us and the wind was kind of going with us. And anyway, we managed to bolt through, and all of this being nervous about the engine. But I had done a bit of discovery on the engine and some research, and I had found a point where fuel was leaking out of the starboard engine at the secondary filter, and I found that the bleed screw there has stripped, and it looks like the screw itself, the thread on the screw itself is stripped, and I'm hoping that that's the case and it's not the actual body of the filter itself. But I kind of tightened things up and cleaned things up, and since then the starboard engine has behaved perfectly. So I'm hoping that it sticks that way. And we're now around the corner at Quaker's Hat Bay, and it's quite cool to be in Quaker's Hat Bay because this is where the guys who make Quaker's Hat beers, Quaker's Hat Brewery, this is where they sort of started out. So that's quite cool. But this storm has come through and it's sort of abated at the moment, but we've had lightning and thunder and 35 knots coming through here, and yeah, it's all been pretty wild. And I've been tracking my heart rate on my new watch. Let me see if I can kind of give, like, you know, you can't see the heart rate there. There you can see the barometric pressure, and you can see how that's dropped off. I don't know if that's even visible, probably not. But my heart rate has just been going through the roof for the last little while, so it's quite good to be on and mooring. We're going to get the tender service here at Adelbert Marina to come and pick us up in a bit, take us back to the car, and we're going to head home and, I don't know, probably order Thai takeaway and flop on the couch.